because I see what you're going through, about as bad as there is anywhere in the country. And I said I'd be back, and we are back, and we're pouring a lot of money and a lot of talent into this horrible problem. And we pledge to honor the memory of those you lost with action and determination and resolve. We'll get it. We will not rest until the end. And I will tell you, this scourge of drug addiction in America will stop. It will stop. Every day, 116 Americans die from an opioid-related overdose. In New Hampshire, the overdose, really death rate, I mean, can you believe this? The death rate is double the national average. It's got difficulties like people wouldn't believe. Defeating this epidemic will require the commitment of every state, local, and federal agency. Failure is not an option. Addiction is not our future. We will liberate our country from this crisis. Never been like this. Hundreds of years, never been like this. And we will raise a drug-free generation of American children. Last October, we declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency. Should have been done a long time before. Since then, we've worked with Congress to ensure at least $6 billion additional dollars going through right now in new funding in 2018 and 2019 to combat the opioid crisis. And we will be spending the most money ever on the opioid crisis. On our most recent National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, people across the country turned in more than 900,000 pounds of unused or expired prescription drugs, more than the weight of 3 Boeing 757s. Our Custom and Border Protection and these people, the job they do is incredible. Seized nearly 1,500 pounds of fentanyl last year, nearly 3 times the amount seized in 2016. And I told China, don't send it. And I told Mexico, don't send it. Don't send it. In 2017, ICE arrested criminal aliens with 76,000 charges and convictions for dangerous drug crimes. Last year, the Department of Justice prosecuted more than 3,000 defendants in cases involving opioid, all of the trafficking and the related crimes, 3,000 cases, including a pharmacist, a physician's assistant, and an opioid trafficker, each charged with committing serious drug crimes in New Hampshire. Whether you are a dealer or doctor or trafficker or a manufacturer, if you break the law and illegally peddle these deadly poisons, we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will hold you accountable. Thank you. Here in New Hampshire, I applaud all of the drug enforcement agents and law enforcement officers who recently coordinated Operation Granite Shield, an 18-hour enforcement action targeting drug traffickers that resulted in the arrest of 151 people. These are terrible people, and we have to get tough on those people because we can have all the blue ribbon committees we want, but if we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. Just remember that. We're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty. You know, it's an amazing thing. Some of these drug dealers will kill thousands of people during their lifetime. Thousands of people. And destroy many more lives than that. But they will kill thousands of people during their lifetime. And they'll get caught, and they'll get 30 days in jail. Or they'll go away for a year. Or they'll be fined. And yet if you kill one person, you get the death penalty or you go to jail for life. So if we're not going to get tough on the drug dealers who kill thousands of people and destroy so many people's lives, we are just doing the wrong thing. We have got to get tough. This isn't about nice anymore. This isn't about committees. This isn't about let's get everybody and have dinners and let's have everybody go to a blue ribbon committee and everybody gets a medal for frankly talking and doing nothing. This is about winning a very, very tough problem. And if we don't get very tough on these dealers, it's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. And I want to win this battle. I don't want to leave at the end of 7 years and have this problem. Okay? I don't want to, right? Thank you. Not going to happen. No, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to solve it with brains. We're going to solve it with resolve. We're going to solve it with toughness. Because toughness is the thing that they most fear. That's what they most fear. So to the brave agents and officers, thank you for protecting us all. Last year, my commission on combating the incredible crisis of opioids issued 56 recommendations. My administration agreed with all of the commission's goals, and we've worked aggressively to put them into action. Today, I'm here to announce additional steps that we're taking as part of our nationwide initiative to address the opioid crisis and, by the way, the drug crisis, the general drug crisis. First, we're taking action to reduce drug demand by preventing Americans from becoming addicted in the first place. So important. That includes increasing federal funding for the development of non-addictive painkillers. And we have to come up with a solution where we come up with a painkiller that's not so addictive. And we can do it. We're not that far off. We can do it. These things are incredibly addictive. So we're going to find that answer also. We're also taking action to prevent addiction by addressing the problem of over-prescribing. And our Department of Justice is looking very seriously into bringing major litigation against some of these drug companies. We'll bring it at a federal level. Some states are already bringing it, but we're thinking about bringing it at a very high federal level, and we'll do a job. We're going to cut nationwide opioid prescriptions by 1/3 over the next 3 years. We're also going to make sure that virtually all prescriptions reimbursed by the federal government follow best practices for prescribing. We'll ensure that opioid addiction is not subsidized by the American taxpayer. The best way, so important, and the best way to beat the drug crisis is to keep people from getting hooked on drugs to begin with. As part of that effort, so important, and this has been something that I've been very strongly in favor of, spending a lot of money on great commercials showing how bad it is, so that kids seeing those commercials during the right shows on television or wherever, the internet, when they see these commercials, say, I don't want any part of it. That's the least expensive thing we can do, where you scare them from ending up like the people in the commercials. And we'll make them very, very bad commercials. We'll make them pretty unsavory situations. And you've seen it before. And it's had an impact on smoking and cigarettes. You see what happens to the body. You see what happens to the mind. So we're announcing a new website, crisisnextdoor.gov, where Americans can share their stories about the danger of the opioid addiction and addictions. But we're thinking about doing really a large-scale rollout of commercials that show how bad it is for the kids. And when they see those commercials, hopefully they're not going to be going to drugs of any kind. And we'll save a lot of lives, and we'll make their life a lot easier. This epidemic can affect anyone, and that's why We want to educate everyone. The second part of our initiative is to reduce the supply of illicit drugs. 90% of the heroin in America comes from our southern border, where eventually the Democrats will agree with us and will build the wall to keep the damn drugs out. Pretty amazing. They don't want to go with DACA because they don't care about DACA, but they're trying to tie the wall to DACA and DACA to the wall. And they want to keep DACA for the campaign instead of getting it approved, which we could do very easily. The Republicans are totally in favor of doing something substantial for DACA, but the Democrats like it as a campaign issue, so they don't get it approved. And they want to tie it to the wall, which is okay with me. Both should get approved. They don't want it to be approved. Remember what I said. They don't want it to be approved. They want to make it part of the campaign. Well, we'll make it part of the campaign also, and we'll win, because we're going to win on those issues. My administration is also confronting things called sanctuary cities that shield dangerous criminals. And every day, sanctuary cities release illegal immigrants, and drug dealers, traffickers, and gang members back into our communities. They're protected by these cities. And you say, what are they doing? They're safe havens for just some terrible people. Some terrible people. And they're making it very dangerous for our law enforcement officers. You see it all the time. As the people of New Hampshire have learned firsthand, ending sanctuary cities is crucial to stopping the drug addiction crisis. And your governor, who is great, the numbers are going down in New Hampshire. I don't know if you've seen it, but the numbers are going down. Chris, we would just stand up, Chris. It's really one of the few bright spots where the numbers actually are going down, and that's a tremendous achievement. Thank you, Chris. According to a recent Dartmouth study, the sanctuary city of Lawrence, Massachusetts, is one of the primary sources of fentanyl in 6 New Hampshire counties. ICE recently arrested 15 MS-13 gang members. These are not good people, folks, okay? These are bad, bad people. They don't use guns. They'd rather use knives because it's more painful and it takes longer. These are bad people. In Boston, Massachusetts, which is a place where you have sanctuary cities, I'm repeating my call on Congress to block funds for sanctuary cities and to close the deadly loopholes that allow criminals back into our country and into our country in the first place. You know, some things are very understandable. We have lots of issues where we're on both sides of an issue, and you can understand the other side even though you don't agree. Sanctuary cities are hard to understand for people because they don't get it. They don't get it. You see what's going on in California, how terrible it is, how dangerous it is, and they're all trying to protect sanctuary cities. And whether it's Kate Steinle or so many others, they'd be around today if these people weren't allowed back into our country through, in this case, the southern border, at least 5 times. And look at the damage. And then look at this verdict. Look at the verdict. Can you believe the verdict? So we have to get a lot smarter. We have to get a lot tougher. And speaking of tough, because here with us today is ICE agent Derek Dunn. Derek worked with state police to uncover a major drug smuggling operation in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Where's Derek? Derek! Where's Derek? Come here, Derek. I love tough guys. We need tough guys. Come here, Derek.
Just want to say thanks for everyone being here, and it's been a battle. It's been an absolute battle for our counterparts here at DEA and FBI and everybody, all the law enforcement, state police, and the local police. It's been an absolute battle. We all work together, and we're going to get this solved.
We're also shutting down illegal online marketplaces and preventing drugs that come from China and other countries from bypassing our borders, and we're getting very tough on it. It's not that we have a choice. We don't have a choice. We can be nice, and we can be soft and weak, and you're not going to have a country left. So we have to strengthen up our laws so that we can do what we have to do. We have to stop this from happening. Drug traffickers kill so many thousands of our citizens every year. And that's why my Department of Justice will be seeking so many much tougher penalties than we've ever had. And we will be focusing on the penalty that I talked about previously for the big pushers, the ones that are really killing so many people. And that penalty is going to be the death penalty. If you look at other countries, I've gotten to know the leaders of many countries. And I won't mention names, but you know the countries I'm talking about. I go around, how's your drug problem? We don't have much of a drug problem. What do you mean you don't have a drug problem? Well, we don't have. I say, how come? We have zero tolerance for drug dealers. I said, what does that mean? That means we have the death penalty for drug dealers. We don't have a drug problem. Take a look at some of these countries where they don't play games. They don't have a drug problem. We have court cases that last 10 years, and then they get out at the end. We've got to be tough. We have to be smart. We have to change the laws, and we're working on that right now. The Department of Justice is working very, very hard on that. But the ultimate penalty has to be the death penalty. Now, maybe our country's not ready for that. It's possible. It's possible that our country's not ready for that. And I can understand it, maybe. Although, personally, I can't understand that. But there are people that are good people, that are strong, smart people, and they would differ with most of us. But I think unless you do that, unless you have really, really powerful penalties led by the death penalty for the really bad pushers and abusers, we are going to get nowhere. And I'm telling you, we are going to get somewhere. Companies must also be held accountable. The Department of Justice recently created a task force to coordinate investigations and lawsuits against manufacturers and other bad actors that harm our citizens. And I can tell you that Jeff Sessions, who's here with us now, feels so strongly about this. And they're working very hard and very effectively on that. And so we appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I can think of nothing more important. The third part of our initiative is to get life-saving help to those who need it. We're going to make sure our first responders have access to life-saving, overdose-reversing drugs, which, by the way, are amazing.